He is a hitman who seems to be cursed with the absolute worst luck imaginable. If he crosses the street, he is almost guaranteed to step right into a puddle of filth. Even a simple walk results in someone bumping into him and making him drop his keys. During a stakeout for a job, someone once decided to jump off a building and landed right on the roof of his car. This man is so incredibly jinxed that he doesn't even need to lift a finger for a crowd of innocent bystanders to meet their end around him. Because his bad luck constantly puts those around him in danger, he decides to only take non-lethal jobs and leaves his gun behind. All he wants is to make some quick and easy cash without any trouble. This time, his handler Maria sets him up with a straightforward gig: board a Shinkansen bullet train and steal a briefcase adorned with a train sticker. The hitman, codenamed Ladybug, starts his search the moment he steps onto the train. He expects to spend quite a bit of time scouring the different cars, but to his surprise, he finds the target briefcase in the very first luggage rack. It is so easy that he actually starts to wonder if his luck is finally turning around. Filled with excitement, he prepares to hop off at the next stop, only to find a man in a white suit standing right at the door. Before he can react, the man lunges forward and drives a knife straight toward his chest. In a stroke of literal, life-saving luck, Ladybug's phone takes the hit and blocks the blade. Still, Ladybug is beyond frustrated because he has absolutely no idea who this guy is or why he is so angry. He uses the briefcase to defend himself while trying to get the man to calm down and talk things through. But the attacker is blinded by pure rage and won't listen to a word, leaving a stressed-out Ladybug to defend himself while pleading for peace. That is when his magical talent kicks in again. Without even making a deliberate move, Ladybug somehow manages to unalive the man trying to take him out. To avoid drawing attention from the other passengers, Ladybug poses the body of this total stranger and waits for the next station. So far, the mission still feels relatively simple despite this little incident. He figures all he has to do is get off the train with the briefcase and the job is done. However, he has no clue that things are about to get exponentially more chaotic. The actual owners of that briefcase are a pair of hitmen brothers named Lemon and Tangerine. They head to the luggage rack only to discover that the case they were supposed to guard has vanished. Both of them break into a cold sweat because their client is a legendary Yakuza boss known as the White Death. Word on the street is that this man defected from the Russian mob as a youngster and quickly became the right hand of a Yakuza boss. Not long after, he wiped out the old boss's entire inner circle in a single night and took over the syndicate himself. He is a terrifying figure that everyone fears, yet someone was still brave enough to cross him. His son was recently kidnapped by a rival gang, so the brothers were hired to take out the enemies and bring the boy back. They successfully rescued the son and even snatched back the ransom money, which was all packed into that missing briefcase. They know they have to find that case immediately, or their lives are forfeit. But as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. They return to their seats only to find White Death's son bleeding from his eyes and mouth, stone cold dead. He was perfectly fine and chatting with them just a moment ago, but he died the second they turned their backs. Now the money is gone, and the high-profile target is dead. They pose the body as if it is just sleeping, and split up to find whoever stole their briefcase. The train reaches a new station, and just as Ladybug is about to step off, he spots Lemon standing guard at the door with a gun. He recognizes this man as the same person who shot him twice during a previous job, identifying him as his arch nemesis. To avoid a direct confrontation, Ladybug decides to try a different exit. He rushes to another door, but the train doors slide shut right as he arrives. Frustrated, Ladybug retreats to the dining car and hides the briefcase for the time being. He uses the dead hitman's phone to call Maria for some intel. With Maria's help, Ladybug realizes the man in the white suit was a famous Mexican hitman named the Wolf. Ladybug once disguised himself as a waiter to infiltrate Wolf's wedding to monitor a mob boss, but he accidentally bumped into Wolf and ended up soiling his suit. While Wolf was away changing his clothes, everyone at the wedding who ate the cake inexplicably started vomiting blood and died. After losing the love of his life, Wolf received intel that the person responsible was on this very train. Wolf ran into Ladybug as soon as he boarded, and, recognizing him, immediately assumed Ladybug was the killer. While Ladybug is hiding in the luggage area making a call, Lemon is searching for the briefcase while simultaneously talking to someone on the phone. Ladybug overhears the conversation and realizes Lemon is talking to one of White Death's associates. In the world of assassins, everyone knows the name White Death, and he is not someone a low-tier hitman like Ladybug wants to mess with. He decides to take the initiative and sits down directly across from Lemon to try and negotiate a peace treaty. He wants to return the briefcase and just pretend like nothing ever happened, so they can both go their separate ways. However, Lemon isn't having any of it, as he is convinced that Ladybug not only snatched the briefcase, but also unalived the White Death's son. This situation has clearly escalated far beyond just returning some stolen cash. The two hitmen have no choice but to start brawling right there in their seats. Their fight gets a bit too rowdy, causing an elderly woman sitting nearby to keep turning around and telling them to pipe down. During the scuffle, Ladybug uses a laptop to smack Lemon across the face, knocking him unconscious. To ensure Lemon doesn't wake up anytime soon, Ladybug gets a clever idea and pours the sleeping pills into the man's water bottle. In an attempt to reduce the body count on the train, he also disassembles the hitman's gun and hides the pieces. Since his own phone was broken during the fight, Ladybug helps himself to Lemon's phone instead. To stop Tangerine from pursuing him, Ladybug uses suitcases to barricade the doors of the train car aisle. But suddenly, a snake slithers out from one of the suitcases, giving him a massive fright. As it turns out, not only are there a bunch of assassins on this train, but a highly venomous snake that escaped from a zoo has also found its way on board. He hides inside the restroom, planning to just mess around with the smart toilet until he can get off at the next station. However, he narrowly avoids getting a face full of bidet water. While he is hunkered down in the restroom, he has no idea that a Japanese man named Kimura is also on the train. Kimura's young son was pushed off a roof and is currently hospitalized, so he traced the culprit to this very bullet train, intending to find them and exact his revenge. He furiously tracks down the culprit's seat with his gun drawn, but just as he is about to pull the trigger, he discovers a cute young girl sitting there and prepares to leave, assuming his intel was mistaken. In reality, this girl is named Prince, and she is actually the young daughter of the White Death. You can tell just by her name exactly how much her father favors sons over daughters. Having always been neglected, Prince harbors a deep resentment toward her father and has developed a desire to unalive him. She set a trap to lure Kimura onto the train, planning to have him assassinate the White Death using a pistol rigged with an explosive. This is because Prince knows her father has a sick habit of using his enemy's own weapons to finish them off. To ensure Kimura's absolute compliance, she has stationed an assassin in his son's hospital room, waiting for her command. This highly intelligent yet wicked young girl has also been monitoring the movements of every assassin on the train, especially Ladybug, who keeps wandering around with the briefcase. While Ladybug is busy hiding, she easily locates the briefcase containing the ransom money in the dining car. To increase her chances of successfully unaliving her father, she makes Kimura attempt hundreds of password combinations until the briefcase finally clicks open. She packs the briefcase with a massive amount of explosives, making Kimura tremble with fear beside her. He never imagined that everyone in the White Death's family was a total psychopath who enjoyed unaliving each other. Meanwhile, Ladybug is still in the restroom playing with the toilet when he hears someone knocking incessantly on the door. He opens the door only to find the assassin Tangerine standing right there. It turns out he used the GPS tracking on Lemon's phone to find Ladybug instantly, which inevitably sparks another brutal battle between the two hitmen. The two assassins are locked in a fierce struggle within the train car, neither able to gain the upper hand. Just then, a waitress pushes a snack cart into the car, and they immediately stop fighting, acting as if absolutely nothing is happening. Ladybug even goes as far as ordering a bottle of sparkling water with interest, but since he is completely broke, a frustrated Tangerine is forced to cover the bill for him. However, the moment the waitress leaves, the two of them dive right back into the fight. Tangerine fights even more aggressively this time, likely because he's the one who just paid for the water. While being choked, Ladybug kicks the emergency door release, and both of them are instantly sucked out of the train by the powerful airflow. Just as Tangerine is about to jam a pair of chopsticks into Ladybug's eye, his phone starts ringing. After quite a bit of persuasion from Ladybug, Tangerine finally lets him go and picks up the call. It is another call from White Death's men, informing them that the brothers need to bring the briefcase for an inspection at the next stop. But the problem now is that Lemon isn't by his side, and the briefcase is nowhere to be seen. Ladybug suggests that he pose as Lemon and go with Tangerine, since the mobsters have never seen the brothers and have no idea what the briefcase actually looks like. Consequently, the two of them form a temporary alliance. White Death's henchmen arrive with a group of men and encounter the two assassin brothers carrying the briefcase. Ladybug and Tangerine work together flawlessly to deceive the Japanese gang. The inspection is nearly over, but Ladybug's tendency to overact gets the better of him, and forgetting his own terrible luck, he accidentally opens the wrong briefcase, spilling out a massive pile of pajamas. Terrified, the two of them scramble back onto the train as fast as they can. Tangerine is fuming with rage at Ladybug, but just as he is considering whether to give him another beating, the train arrives at yet another station. Ladybug keeps checking his watch, and right as the 1-minute stop is about to end, he kicks Tangerine right off the train. He is absolutely thrilled, believing he has finally managed to outsmart and ditch his opponent. Little does he know that the assassin he just kicked off is completely reckless, chasing down the accelerating bullet train on foot before making a desperate leap to cling to the very back of the car. Tangerine uses his brass knuckles to smash through the window and successfully crawls back into the train. He is determined to find the sneaky coward who kicked him off and beat him into a pulp. Meanwhile, Ladybug returns to the dining car, where Prince has already sneakily returned the briefcase to its original spot. Having secured the briefcase, Ladybug loots an envelope from Wolf's body to kill time and see who his real enemy actually was. It turns out to be a female assassin. Ladybug thinks his eyes are playing tricks on him because the waitress standing right there looks exactly like the woman in the photo. The assassin, codenamed the Hornet, specializes in lethal toxins and immediately lunges at Ladybug to snatch the briefcase. Ladybug tries his best to dodge her poison needles, as this snake venom is so potent that a single scratch leads to a gruesome death within 30 seconds. Even though he dodges with everything he's got, that poison needle still manages to pierce the back of his hand. At this point, the Hornet is stunned to realize that her only dose of the antidote is now gone. She ends up falling victim to her own poison, finally getting a taste of her own medicine. Another posed corpse is added to the growing collection in the dining car. You could say Ladybug is cursed, yet he somehow manages to turn every disaster into a miracle. However, he has had enough of these constant shocks and is now single-mindedly focused on getting off this train. He carries the briefcase into another car and runs straight into Tangerine, who has been searching for him everywhere. During their frantic struggle for the gun, a shot suddenly rings out. Ladybug's unlucky aura strikes again. Tangerine's gun goes off and accidentally hits his own carotid artery. Ladybug is utterly depressed, as he never intended to unalive anyone, yet he has somehow taken out several top-tier assassins tonight. Seeing Prince crying nearby, he mistakenly assumes she is just a terrified young girl caught in the crossfire. He plans to take Prince with him at the next station to leave this death train, but she intentionally fakes her backpack being stuck. Ladybug has no choice but to head back into the car to help her out. The moment he steps back inside, the train doors slide shut once more. The jinxed hitman loses yet another chance to escape, completely unaware that Prince trapped him on purpose to keep the briefcase on board. While the station appears empty, an elderly man boards the train and takes a seat. As the old man sits down, poor Ladybug gets bitten on the palm by the venomous snake, sending him sprinting back to the restroom in a panic. Now, only the elder and Prince are left alone together in the train car. It turns out the elder is Kimura's father, and he has known all along that this girl harmed his grandson, but he already sent men to deal with her assassin in the hospital. To the elder, all of Prince's schemes are nothing more than child's play. Realizing she is no match for this old man, a terrified and angry Prince flees the scene. After dealing with the venomous snake, Ladybug returns to the train car. Through the elder's introduction, he learns that the old man is a longtime nemesis of the White Death. The White Death unalived the elder's wife and family during his takeover of the gang, which is why the elder has been waiting for this exact moment to settle the score in person. Today is his best opportunity, as he knows the White Death will be waiting at the next station to personally collect his son and the ransom. There are now 4 men left in the car. Kimura and Lemon are both still alive. Since the elder warns them that an army of assassins is waiting ahead, they decide to join forces to survive the night. The train pulls into the station, which is crawling with masked killers. The man who strikes fear into the hearts of all assassins, the White Death, finally makes his appearance. Ladybug takes the lead and walks out of the train carrying the briefcase. White Death has his men open the case to inspect it while he tells Ladybug a story. He explains that a pair of hitmen once hit one of his outposts, and while he was cleaning up the mess, his incompetent son got arrested. His wife was rushing to the police station to save their son when her car was struck by another vehicle, leaving her critically injured. While she was on the operating table, the lead surgeon suddenly started bleeding from his eyes and died on the spot. Because the surgery was delayed, his wife passed away. To avenge her, he invited everyone connected to that tragic night onto this train for a final reckoning, including his own son. Hearing this, Ladybug is baffled, as he has absolutely nothing to do with any of these events. It turns out the man who intentionally caused the car crash was the world's #1 assassin, Carver. But because Carver suddenly had diarrhea, the unlucky Ladybug ended up as the scapegoat. Ladybug is speechless at the sheer absurdity of his situation. Just as he tries to explain he isn't Carver, the two assassins open the briefcase. Inside the train, the Elder begins the battle, while Lemon seizes the opportunity in the cockpit to start the engine. The train roars back to life and surges forward. White Death is blown into the train by the blast and finally faces off against his rival, the Elder. They engage in a brutal blade fight within the speeding car. Meanwhile, the bullet train is going faster and faster until it slams into another train traveling at a normal speed. The bullet train knocks the other one aside and continues to accelerate uncontrollably. Lemon grabs a gunman and jumps out of the train, falling into the river below. Ladybug's eyes widen in horror as he sees the tracks are about to end. The train flies off the slope like a missile and crashes into a small town. As the train goes airborne, Ladybug is lucky enough to fall into the arms of a giant inflatable mascot, escaping certain death once again. When the dust settles, Ladybug crawls out from the wreckage completely unscathed. The venomous snake was also unharmed, and it was not far from him. He turns around only to see the White Death standing before him, having miraculously survived as well. White Death was hell-bent on killing the unlucky assassin in front of him, but despite pulling the trigger several times, there were no bullets. He immediately pulls another gun from behind his back. Coincidentally, that gun was the exact one his daughter had secretly rigged with explosives earlier. As a result, the moment he pulled the trigger, the explosives detonated, instantly blowing his head off. Kimura and his father survive as well, finally achieving their long-awaited revenge. As the three men prepare to stagger away, Prince suddenly appears before them. She is just as unhinged as her father, having helped unalive him and now wanting to finish off the remaining three men. Just as she is about to open fire, a truck hauling tangerines slams into her and sends her flying. It seems that Ladybug's unique constitution played a role at the last moment. Kimura and his father bid Ladybug farewell. At this moment, a car stopped in front of Ladybug. It turned out his beautiful handler, Maria, had come to pick him up. This unlucky assassin finally had a decent ending to his day. After going through so many things, he is still alive. It seems he is quite lucky after all. His simple mission was finally completed.